Assalamu alaikum. Kayfa halik? Alhamdulillah. Did you enjoy that story? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Let's say alhamdulillah. Say alhamdulillah for Allah giving us the beautiful religion of Islam, our families, and all the blessings in our lives. Say alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Say alhamdulillah for Allah giving us one more day to worship Him, to seek His forgiveness, and to ask for His bounties. Say alhamdulillah. Think about this. What if you woke up this morning and the only thing you had left in the entire world are the things that you thanked Allah for yesterday? If you didn't say alhamdulillah for something yesterday, Allah took it from you today. Say alhamdulillah for your freedom, for your liberty, for security, for dignity, for justice. Alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth. He set up a balance of justice. He Himself is Adil, the just. Allah ordered Muslims to be just. He said, "O you who believe, stand out firmly for Allah and be just." Be just, that is next to taqwa, next to piety. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, every day in which the sun rises, there's a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who establish justice among the people. Tonight, brothers and sisters, it's my honor to be here representing an organization whose noble mission is to try to fulfill the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying to establish justice. The Muslim Legal Fund of America. My name is Khalil Meek. I'm one of the founders of the Muslim Legal Fund back in 2001. I am from Dallas, Texas. I was born and raised in a Christian family. I grew up, I wanted to be a Baptist preacher. Alhamdulillah. In 1989, I took my shahada. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
And as a Muslim, I love Islam, I love the Muslim community, and I want to do everything I can to help in any way that I can serve. And today, brothers and sisters, we need your help. Today, we are here presenting a program to lift your iman, to make you feel injustice and the justice and the beauty of Islam. Today, I'm just going to talk maybe 5-10 minutes. And I'm just going to ask you in an appeal. I'm not going to fundraise, show me your hand. But I want you to help us do the work that we do. The Muslim Legal Fund is a charity that helps Muslims face legal challenges. We're a legal fund. We're not a law firm. I'm not an attorney. I've learned to sound like one, but I'm not. We're a legal fund that's like a public cause, charitable legal fund. We collect money from Muslims all over the United States. With the money we collect, we hire attorneys. We spend the money on lawyers to help Muslims face legal challenges. We've been taking cases on behalf of the Muslim community from California to Chicago to Detroit, New York, Florida, Texas, all over the United States for the last 14 years. We take some of the most high-profile cases that you hear about on TV. If you do not have a book, we want you to take a booklet home. Those of you who have a book, raise your hand. If you do not have a book, raise your hand. We'd like you to take one before you leave tonight. And I want you to get to know the work of the Muslim Legal Fund. We're a charity that is helping Muslims face all kinds of legal issues. You and I know that today, we, the Muslims, live in a society that's surrounded by the politics of fear. And that fear that we live under is affecting people. And we have our government who's reacting in the name of security to keep us safe, but they become very zealous. And they're writing laws that are broad, and they're writing laws that are affecting our communities and our leaders. They have, in many cases, dealing in immigration, taken a heavy-handed stance against our leaders, our activists, our imams, our organizations. We have cases that you will look at in your book, How many of you are familiar with some of them? The Holy Land Foundation, the largest Muslim charity. Dr. Afia Siddiqui, a Pakistani woman who graduated from MIT and Brandeis University. And she went missing for 6 years, and then she's accused of attacking her captors. How many of you have heard of the 6 Imams case, flying while Muslim? We won that case and settled in favor of the Imams. We have cases of people that are going through immigration that the government has taken a heavy-handed approach to, where they're trying to deny their citizenship or deport them or to make up excuses that we don't like you. And we help them through that process. Dr. Main Al-Quda, Sheikh Ibrahim Jameli, Dr. Fawad Farahi in Miami. We have cases that are affecting our charities and our ability to give. We have cases that are manufactured cases and political cases. I don't have the time, or I'm not going to take the time tonight, to go into the work of all the cases that we do. But for 14 years, we've taken cases that the community says are most important to you. And these cases that we see the government today, who's testing the limits of their power in the surveillance arena, in passing new laws and saying we need to have secret evidence and anonymous experts, indefinite detentions. We have cases that people and families who have good moral character, who leaders of our community, people who are trying to serve on behalf of the Muslims, facing some of the most serious challenges this country can face. I want you tonight to help us help our brothers and sisters who are in need. I want you to take a pledge card tonight, and if you enjoyed this program, and if you think that the work that you hear that the Muslim Legal Fund is doing deserves your support, that you write a check tonight, that you don't leave here tonight, because as a Muslim, on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask me, Khalil, what did you do when somebody came to you and said, I need your help, and they couldn't help themselves? And I want to answer Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say, Allah, I did my best. Whatever my capacity is, I hope Allah accepts. But tonight, brothers and sisters, I can't do anything for people without your help. And tonight, we need you to help us help others. I'm going to share with you a quick story so that I can give you an idea of the types of cases we deal with. We don't deal with cases, if somebody does something wrong, we don't try to defend them. We take what we call political cases. Cases where there's no victim, cases where there's no property damage, cases where nobody has been injured or hurt, but that the government has taken a position against an individual that they're taking a set of facts and saying that this, I'm trying to abbreviate my speech and I'm butchering it, but the government is being very aggressive and using the Muslim community as a target. Now, I'm rushing this because I'm told we were supposed to finish at 8. And I know that people may want me to finish even sooner. How many of you are familiar with some of the laws that the government is passing that are trying to keep us safe? In the name of security, our government is telling us it needs new laws. One of the laws that was passed after 2011 was referred to as the Patriot Act. Are you familiar with that? Inside the Patriot Act, there's a statute that's affecting a lot of our leaders in our communities called the Material Support Statute. Has anybody heard of that? Are you guys familiar with the Material Support Statute? No. The Material Support Statute says it's against the law for any U.S. citizen or resident of the United States to provide material support to a designated terrorist or a terrorist organization. Right? So we can't help a terrorist. With that definition, what are some things that are obvious examples of material support? What comes to your mind? Money, weapons, advice. Well, the government says that we as Americans can't give any resources, any money, any weapons, any advice, anything that can be considered a benefit to a terrorist or a terrorist organization, right? But if I were to ask you, now that we understand what this law is for, I'm for security, I want to be safe, but I want to leave Chicago tonight and I want to head to Somalia. And the reason I want to go to Somalia, I want to help people. And I open a charity, and tomorrow I put up a sign that says, if you're hungry, come eat. And tomorrow I feed over 200 people. Alhamdulillah. But after I feed them, somebody comes up to me and says, Khalil, I think you should know that 3 people who ate your food today are associated with a group called Al-Shabaab. Well, Al-Shabaab is designated. So technically, I did a good thing. I fed people. But I fed 3 terrorists. Is that material support? Yes or no? Let's say I'm in Somalia. I need a haircut. I look around, I find a barber. I don't speak the language, so I go in and I point to my head. He cuts my hair. He holds up 10 fingers. I give him $10. Salam alaikum. I got a haircut. After my haircut, I pick up the newspaper and I see a picture of my barber in the paper. And it says, I read the article and it says, my barber is associated with Al-Shabaab. I gave him $10. Is that material support?
Yes.
No. Let's say I ask the brothers, I want to speak to one of the members of Al-Shabaab. Can you take me? So they say, come with me. So I go up to a man, I say, Salam alaikum, my name is Khalil. I think what you do is causing more harm than good. I know that all conflict eventually ends. Sooner or later, this will all be over. The sooner, the better. Here's some advice from the Prophet, peace be upon him. Here's advice from Jesus, peace be upon him. Here's the advice of Jimmy Carter, an ex-president. Here's the best roadmap to peace ever. Follow this. Salam alaikum. I gave advice to a terrorist. Is that material support?
Yes.
I told him to quit doing what he's doing. Now the reason I ask you these questions is that I want you to get an understanding of what we're dealing with. The government is taking a set of facts, innocent facts, and moving in a direction to where these types of cases, people are saying, to the government, they're saying, look, we're charities, we're national organization, Muslim, non-Muslim, we understand the law, but we work in conflict zones, we work to help people, we have no politics. How do we deal with this? And so they asked the government, what if, what if, what if? And the government refused to answer. They said, well, we can't give you advice. Have your attorney read the statute and give you advice. We're like, we need help. And so they got nowhere. So there was a lawsuit. They decided to sue the government. There was a lawsuit called the Humanitarian Law Project, led by David Cole, a constitutional scholar at Georgetown University. This lawsuit went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that they're not going to be able to fix everything in a definition. They're going to allow the Department of Justice to use its discretion. And if the Department of Justice thinks what it sees fits the definition of material support, they can indict. They can charge you with the crime. Doesn't mean you're guilty, but they take you to court. They argue to a jury why they think that's important. And if the jury agrees, they can convict. You'll find out in court. My question to you is this. Giving the Department of Justice that much discretion, do you think they may use that discretion in a political fashion? Do you think they could use their discretion to persecute somebody while they prosecute them? Do you think they could be creative in their ability to take a set of facts and twist it into criminal conduct? Not only can they, but they have. And we have people in our community here tonight who have had to deal with this exact problem. We have people in this country, we have imams, leaders, and activists trying to do good, now having to face legal issues. And as a community, as Muslims, it is our responsibility to help our brothers and sisters in need. How many of you have hired an attorney before? Anybody? How much do they charge? They charge by the hour. $250, $300, $500 an hour. How many hours do you have to pay an attorney for this type of work? Hundreds. Right? So if you have to pay a lawyer 500 hours for a case at $250 an hour, how much is that? That's over $100,000. Who has $100,000? Do you have $100,000? See me after the lecture. Right? Nobody has that. So if you can't afford an attorney, what happens? Hey, America says your right to confront your accuser is so important. If you can't afford an attorney, we'll hire one for you. You can have a free public defender. Now, hopefully the public defender doesn't have issues with Muslims, has 500 hours to spend on your case, knows some experts who can help you, has some national security experience. But how many of you would rather pick your own lawyer? Pick a lawyer that you think is the best, who cares about Muslims, who cares about your issue, who's had national security experience, who has the best experts, and knows how to give you an opportunity to tell your side of the story. Which would you prefer? The public defender or the private attorney? Right. If you can't afford that, how could that happen? The Muslim Legal Fund can open a legal fund. We can collect money from the Muslims all over the United States. We could use that money to hire the best lawyers, the best experts, to try to make a difference on that issue. This is what we've done for the Muslim community for the last 14 years. We've taken cases, the 6 Imams case, the Irvine 11, the Somali case, the 5 brothers in San Diego, the 3 Imams in Florida. We have people that have been acquitted and go home and they're with their families, alhamdulillah. We have other people who've been convicted because in the courtroom the judge is biased and he lets the prosecution do anything it wants and we have to go back and try to fix all that. But if we don't do our job, everything that's happening in these courtrooms will apply to you, me, and our kids, and our future. And the example I'll leave you with in closing is, we all know, or some of us know, that one of the largest Muslim charities, the largest Muslim charity at the time, in 2001 was the Holy Land Foundation, right? The Holy Land Foundation was a charity that provided food, clothing, shelter, education, and medical supplies all over the world. They focused their effort in Palestine. In 2001, December, George Bush comes on TV and he tells America he has reason to believe, as the commander-in-chief, that the Holy Land is the largest source of funding for Hamas in America. And based on his intelligence, he closes the charity. Then he orders the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, the FBI, all law enforcement to seize all their assets and all their records. It takes them 4 years. After 4 years, they come back and they said, not one penny went to Hamas. Not one penny was missing. Everything went to food, clothing, shelter, education, and medical supplies. And we said, alhamdulillah, they're a charity. That's exactly what they did. You know what the government said? No, alhamdulillah. The government said, we now believe the Holy Land was in a conspiracy to provide material support. We asked them, what does that mean? They said, well, we think that the Holy Land was providing humanitarian aid to Palestinians, orphans, widows, and children, but they used the Zakat committees in Palestine to deliver it. We said, yeah. Since 48, they've been there to do the work. They said, we think the Zakat committees might be under the influence of Hamas. And if they are, then they can deliver the aid and they could be winning the hearts and minds of the Palestinians for the organization of Hamas. And that love and affection is material support. Now, how many of you know the founder of the Holy Land, a man named Shukri Abu Bakr? Who here knows Shukri? Shukri, I'm going to tell you a story, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. Shukri was living in California in the late 80s. And he had a daughter who was born. His daughter's name was Sanaba. And Sanaba was born with a childhood disease called cystic fibrosis. It's a lung disease. And as a baby, his daughter needed a surgery just to live. But Shukri could not afford the surgery. He had no insurance where he worked. He actually had no way to help his own daughter. Shukri reached out to see if there was a way somebody else could help him fund the surgery. He found a charity who funded her surgery. She received the surgery, she lived, she grew up to be a beautiful young lady. Alhamdulillah. Shukri said, I'm a Muslim, I love to help people, I love to give charity, I enjoy it. He said, but I've never received it. I never tasted it. I never needed it. But when I needed it the most, and somebody stood up and helped me, he said, it changed my life. He said, I wanted to pay him back. I wanted to do something to give back. He said, but there's nothing I can give back that's equal to what I received. He said, I could think and think. He said, the only thing I could come up with is if I could help somebody else when they need it the most. So he left his job. He founded a charity. He put his heart and soul into it. It grew to be the largest Muslim charity in the U.S. And after 12 years, the government knocked on his door and said, Shukri, everything you've done since day one is a crime. Now, how would you deal with that? How would your family deal with that? How would your children deal with that? Today, brothers and sisters, I'm here on behalf of people who cannot come up here and be in front of you. I'm asking on their behalf. I don't want anybody to leave tonight without giving for the sake of Allah to this work. I want you tonight to think about it in this way. If we go back in time, and tonight we're in Mecca, at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is the day that we're all in his masjid. And it's the day that Khalil radiallahu anh is in the market with a boulder on his chest. And Khalil is trying to say, Ahad. Ahad. And the Prophet comes to us and says, here, who of you tonight will help me buy Bilal's freedom? How many of you would give? How many of you would be honored to give? How many of you would give as much as you possibly could for the sake of Allah? How many? Tonight, I'm here telling you there are people that have a boulder on their chest. And I need your help. I need you to take a pledge card, and before you leave this building, fill it out and give. And I need you to be generous because the work we do is serious. It takes a lot of money. We're funding legal clinics. We're funding seminars. We're funding the National Security Defense Project. You can see from A to Z what we're doing in our book, our website, and our brochures. But I'm telling you, this organization is doing the work that all of you want us to do. And I can't do anything but ask you to be generous. So how many of you, I'm not going to ask you to give me an amount, but how many of you before you leave will fill out a pledge card? With something. Didn't get everybody. I'm missing a few. Wallahi, I'm telling you, Shaitan will be with you the minute I hand this mic to somebody else. The second I shut up, Shaitan is going to be in your head going, you can do it later, forget about it. But if you do it before you leave, you'll break the shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pray for you and your family, and you will have done something that could make a difference in the lives of others. And you know the Prophet gives us the examples, right? The example, we hear the hadith of a Jewish woman who's walking in the desert. She's a prostitute. But she sees a dog that's so thirsty, the dog is about to die. Right? The dog is chewing the dirt around the well, trying to get the moisture out of the mud. That's how thirsty the dog is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts mercy in her heart for the dog. So she takes off her shoe, she dips it in the well, she gives water for the dog. She saves the dog's life. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do for her? What does he do? Huh? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim says, you had love, mercy, and compassion for a dog? I'm going to give you Jannah. What will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do for you and me if we have love, compassion for our brothers and sisters in need, families that are being torn apart, children without parents, people that are being persecuted because of their religious beliefs? This is the work we're doing. I can't stress enough how serious it is and how much I need every one of you to do whatever Allah has blessed you. Whatever you can do, please do that tonight. And we thank you. Now, let somebody Come back, but don't leave. Don't take it home. Shaitan is with you the second I let go of this mic. So you're going to help me?
Yes.
You're going to be generous? Is Allah going to be proud of us tonight?
Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.